Summer of the Savage, unfortunately, continues. Last weekend, we had 19 shootings, one of which was at a celebration for the passing of a little girl, an annual celebration that they usually had in Brooklyn for the passing of this little 12-year-old girl who died from asthma. The family has a gathering, and some of these Negro hoods decide they want to crash the party. And in this incident, 9 people get shot. And in Brooklyn, over the weekend, 19 people were shot. And on Monday, 5 more people were shot. Yet, the Negro wants us to believe that Black Lives Matter. Here you have prime examples, right here in New York, of how little regard the Negro has for black life. And he'll sit there and he'll run over with his cardboard signs from Staples, talking, running over to a Sandra Bland protest. Now, I'm not dismissing Sandra Bland, what happened to her, but what about these 19 shootings? Why don't they get any outrage? Why aren't black people upset about them? 19 people, I mean, not only 19, almost 23, 24 people shot over a weekend. And I noticed that this is a pattern. Every time it gets hot, you savages go out and get your 9 millimeters of courage. You get a little upset, it gets hot, it gets humid. You guys, here you go with your guns. And this is what you Negroes do. And then you want to sit here and talk about Black Lives Matter when you are showing the world that you have next to no regard for your own life or the lives of other black people. I mean, this is almost as bad. I mean, it is just as bad as it was here in New York back in the 1980s. And this is the type of stuff we had to deal with on a regular basis when I was growing up here in New York back in the 1980s. This was the type of stuff we dealt with every day: shootings, homicides, just all sorts of insanity. And yet, the Negro will sit there and tell you that Black Lives Matter and that it's all about jobs and all this other stuff. What about discipline and self control? In order for you to get a job or to do any of these, deal with these other social problems, you have to show that you have the discipline and the self control to deal with your feelings and emotions, that you won't go out and go get your 9 millimeters of courage the minute somebody slights you or the minute somebody offends you. This is the big problem with this Negro. Every time somebody upsets him, every time he can't get his way, every time somebody hurts his feelings or says something to him, here he goes, gets his 9 millimeters of courage and starts popping off in a crowd because he's too cowardly to go up to the person face to face and go and punch them. He doesn't even have the masculinity to even use his fists. He's got to go get his little 9 millimeters of courage, and that's how he calls himself solving problems. And not only all he does is he proves to the world that he's a savage. That's all he does with this when he participates in acts like this. He's telling the entire world that he's a savage. He has no self-control. He has no self-discipline. He just can't walk away. He doesn't have the reasoning skills to say, look, I couldn't get into a party. Okay, it's not my party anyway. Let me go walk away. No, he has no discipline and self-control. But this is what your Negro does. And then he wants to come out and talk about Black Lives Matter. And here he is, proving to the world again. I know a lot of people get mad at me for repeating this, but I'm going to keep repeating it because it's something that needs for you to be. I want to try to drill it in your heads because you Negroes are so stupid that you just keep coming up with this line talking about Black Lives Matter when it comes down to your own fellow black man or your fellow black woman. This is what you do. By your actions, you prove to the world that black lives don't matter to you, so the rest of the world can look at you and go, we don't have to value that either. This is the argument I've been presenting in video after video regarding this Negro and these incidents. This is why I do this Summer of the Savage series, because I want people to understand how savage this Negro's behavior has become over the last 25 years, and how it just continues to escalate and get even worse. I mean, I just think about just 20 some odd shootings, yet the Negro wants to go and march and protest over the one person killed by a white cop or a non-black person. This one you have outrage for, but these black lives you have no outrage for. And it clearly shows how hypocritical this Negro is regarding his own life. And the whole thing is that He just doesn't get a simple biblical tenet, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If the Negro could understand this simple biblical tenet, his whole life would be a whole lot easier. I mean, just that if you don't want to hurt anybody to hurt you, then you don't hurt other people. It's just simple as that. If you have a disagreement with someone, you learn how to walk away. If somebody looks at you the wrong way, then just stop looking in their direction. Simple simple things that some of these Negroes just they can't figure this stuff out. And I just get tired of hearing this because 25 years ago I had to see this type of carnage go on, and I'm seeing it, return to New York City, and it's sad to see, you know, it's see it come back, and again, it's right up under this Democratic mayor that all this stuff has started to return, and a lot of people they're just not seeing the pattern, especially these Negroes. They'll probably on the next time Bill de Blasio's up for a re-election, they'll probably go and vote down a ticket for this guy, not seeing that his policies have pretty much started a road to decline here in New York City. I mean, the summer of the savage is continuing on, and a Negro here in New York is continuing to make it the bloodbath that I predicted that it would be. I hate making these type of videos, and I hate saying I told you so, but this is the Negro in action, pretty much telling the world that, you give him an inch, he goes and takes a mile. I mean, he went out and marched in protest to get stop and frisk stopped. And when they got rid of stop and frisk, this is what the Negro does. Pretty much showing that when people tried to help the Negro, what does he do? He participates in the same violent behaviors that literally destroyed the city 25 years ago. People gave him an inch, they marched, they protest, stop and frisk, and here we have it right now, Negro going right back to the same dysfunctional, violent-prone, savage behaviors that prove why everybody he needs to be stopped and frisked. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that policy needs to be in place because I know that there's a lot of decent brothers who suffered because of that policy. But it's because of these savages that are in the neighborhood that people are afraid to snitch on because they're afraid of getting killed. And the whole thing is that this Negro is just so cowardly. He doesn't have the backbone to take a stand in his own community. That nothing changes. The whole thing is that this Negro is just a weak, cowardly person, and he won't stand up for himself. He won't stand up to fight for his own community. He won't stand to do what's right for his own community. And his community is now starting to head right back on that downward spiral. And this Negro has absolutely no idea where he's going. He has no idea what direction he's going in. People gave you an inch, they stopped and frisk, and the minute that happened, escalation in crime. And it's all under this Democratic mayor who tried to pacify you and accommodate you Negroes. And you prove every one of these racists and these white supremacists right by your own behaviors. This is you doing this. This is not white people doing this. This is not racists doing this. This is you, Negro. This is you participating in these violent crimes. And this is you destroying your own community. You can't say it's anybody else. And until you Negroes start taking responsibility for your own community, nothing is going to change.